Do you guys believe it when people tell you, like, whatever you're doing now is what you're supposed to be doing? So if you feel like resting, you're supposed to rest. Or if you feel like moving, you're supposed to be moving. Or I ask because I personally don't know what to think. In my head, I think my feelings are fleeting. In my head, I think sometimes my feelings aren't driven by what's in my best interest, but whatever brings me the most comfort. Or a lot of times what I'm feeling protects me from things I'm afraid of. And I'm not, and vice versa. Sometimes I do believe that feelings are intuition driven and can lead us to some, epiphany. It can lead us to something magical. In the spiritual community and manifestation and all the things that we study, we get both sides. It's like, if both sides are there, how do we figure out whether are we where we're supposed to be or are we not where we're supposed to be? I guess. And how do we figure that out? Maybe that's why we study what we study, and the whole point of spirituality is learning to distinguish feelings, learn to distinguish whether thoughts are ours or someone else's. When should we go with our feelings and when shouldn't we go with our feelings? When should we override our feelings? We learn about manifestation techniques, and we learn about vibration and law of attraction and manifestation techniques and stuff like that. And that's what I do know, and what I think would help you guys a lot too, is one, understanding that your feelings and emotions are the fuel behind whatever it is you want to do. Even if what you choose to do is the wrong thing, even if what you choose to do is like terrible for your health. Maybe your feelings are driving you towards an addiction and you feel like you really want to, party, or you feel like you really want to call someone that you shouldn't be calling, but you feel like you should, but you don't feel like you should. And it's like, okay, some friends become enemies, some enemies become friends. I don't know. I do know. And at least my case is a lot of it has to do with, well, what do I want? And the age-old saying is, know thyself. And I don't think you can know yourself. I take that back. You can know yourself, but I don't think yourself is stagnant. When someone says, know thyself, know your innermost, who you are at its core. You must be true to yourself and express yourself as your innermost soul is. I think your innermost is something that is fleeting and that is changing, and it is determined by your experiences and what you want. And so you have a child, your innermost self is going to change if you have a child. Say you get in a gnarly car accident and you go into a coma for 2 months. Your innermost being, your experiences that you want to have, that's going to change. The only constant is change. We see that when we look into the world. Night is day, seasons change, emotions change. The love that we have for our children and our partners, the quality of it changes. Nothing. Life turns to death and death back into life. The only constant is change. So it's like, do I spend my whole life going, who am I? Or do I spend my life going, what do I want right now? What do I want right now that aligns with like the vision of the world that I see, or at least my world and my friends in it? Like right now I have a longing for nature, and I have a longing for mountains, and I have a longing for trees and forests and seeing mushrooms grow out of old musty logs, and like listening to the Lord of the Rings soundtrack while I'm driving through Big Sur, and seeing plants grow, and like reading books. It's a quality of experience that I'm going after. Sometimes it changes. Sometimes I want to play music, I want to play shows, and sometimes and it's what is right and wrong is determined on what decision we've made and what we want. I think, if you make a decision to have a certain experience and you're not doing things to have that experience, then objectively you're wrong. I would argue, I'm not saying that's the absolute truth, but I would argue objectively, if you make a decision for a quality of life and at the end of the day, you take tally of the things that you've done and you go, all right, well, I haven't necessarily strived in the direction that I want to go in. And so I would say that was a loss, or I lost that day, you know. You know what, Keith? I don't want to do that anymore. I'm happy just playing video games, reading my fantasy books, and going on long walks in the mountains with my son. Okay, then I've now adjusted what I want. You know, it's like, it's a dance. To me, the rhythm of life is a dance. Sometimes you give, sometimes you take, but sometimes your partner might want to go this way. You know, sometimes you want to take the lead. Sometimes your partner wants to take the lead. If your partner goes back a little bit, then you got to go forward a little bit. But when you want to go forward a little bit, maybe your partner wants to scoot sideways. Maybe she wants to roll your hips, roll her hips into you. You know, maybe she wants you to twirl, or maybe you want to change the genre of music. It's like, it's a pulse. It's a dynamic pulse, and it happens in the mind. I guess it happens everywhere. I don't know. What were we talking about? What were we talking about? Ah, yes. Whether or not there is such thing as you are where you're supposed to be. You know, if you're feeling lazy, this is the time for being lazy. Like, I guess that was my original question. Do we go with that? Does it just sound good on a YouTube video? Does it make sense? Because it might make sense. I've been content just reading right now. I've been reading Stephen King, fantasy Stephen King book. I was like, fantasy and horror mixed together? Dope, sign me up, dude. Like, and growing plants. Like, look at our freaking, we've been growing beds, and we got our winter garden coming along beautifully. We planted a whole bunch of garlics, elephant garlic, and we got cabbage. Our cabbages popping, and we got broccoli finally coming out of the ground. And there's a quality of life that I'm hoping we can all achieve. There's a quality of life that I hope you achieve. There's a quality of life that, I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this enough food for thought? I assume we all want to feel as much as possible, and that's why our community tends to be okay with stuff like the dark night of the soul, okay with shadow work, okay with things like that, because we go, okay, I can't negate the feelings of the bad things and not negate good feelings as well. You know, our capacity to experience any emotion dictates to a degree the capacity at which we can experience all emotions, all sensations. Right? So for example, if you're drinking to numb the pain, for example, you're not just gonna numb the pain, you're gonna numb your happiness, you're gonna numb your relationships with other people, as far as your emotional connections with other people are gonna be numbed. Your happiness will be numbed, your excitement will be numbed, your sorrow will be numbed. You'll numb everything. It's very hard, you know, to pinpoint. It's like we go through them all, we experience them all, or we don't. Or we decide a happy ground, right? I'm gonna I've done this before in like sports, or as an athlete, or as anything. You know, you don't want to get yourself too excited because you don't want to jinx yourself, right? In baseball, we do this a lot, where if a pitcher throws a perfect game, that means the pitcher's one who throws the ball, gets all the batters out. He goes all 9 innings, and he's throwing a perfect game. Every batter has gone up, everyone's gotten out. No one's gotten on base, no one's been walked, no one's gotten a hit, nothing. Throwing a perfect game. And no one says anything. No one gets excited about it. It'll be maybe 4th, 5th, 6th inning where people are in their heads, and they might be mumbling something to where no one else can hear, like, I think Johnny's throwing a perfect game right now. And we wouldn't even acknowledge it. We'll hear it and comprehend it, but we won't respond. The coach won't say anything. The pitcher absolutely won't say anything. He won't get excited. He won't do nothing. Why? Because we don't want to jinx ourselves. A very superstitious game, baseball, but it has that same quality, you know? Don't let yourself get excited, right? Cut that out, because emotion is not what we need right now. What we need is performance. What we need is nothing to change. What we need is nothing to change. Change nothing until the end of this game. Do not experience happiness. Do not, if you throw a bad pitch, Do not express regret. Do not express stress. Do not express happiness. Do not express excitement. Do not express anything. Cut off all these goddamn emotions. You're a machine right now. And for the next 12 hours, you're going to perform like a machine. I'm not human right now. I am a machine. And that for that time being has that quality of energy, you know, where I want to mute all my emotions, because I do not want any of the emotions interfering with what I have to get done right now, which is throwing a perfect game. And obviously that's not a sustainable mindset. I think, right? We can't carry that into every aspect of our lives. You know, sometimes things are good, sometimes they're bad, all depending upon the nuance and the circumstance that we're using those things, right? That determines good or bad. How you're using the thing in the specific situation determines good or bad. The occultist strives for that. The occultist, the spiritualist, strives for that balance of understanding that good and bad is subjective, and while simultaneously holding the thought that when you break it down to a specific circumstance with specific guidelines for a specific outcome that we want, good or bad is no longer subjective. Good and bad is objective, and there are guidelines and rules for that. And that helps us become better practitioners of our rituals, better practitioners of our meditations, better practitioners of our thoughts, our internal world, our subconscious world, whether you're working on sigils or whether you're doing mantras or chants, or whether you're doing some money manifestations. It's like the ability to create on the fly experiences that we deem worthy for at least what we want now. You know, forget about know thyself as in the absolute of yourself, because the absolute of yourself is God. And we're not really too worried about God right now. We're worried about, how do I make money? How do I live without you? How I want to know. No, like, we're concerned with, you know, how do I acquire knowledge? How do I raise my frequency? How do I learn lucid dream? How do I increase the amount of my synchronistic experiences? Or how do I at least improve the quality of my synchronistic experiences that I'm already having? How can I experience more depth in the synchronistic experiences that I already, like, how do I become a better human or better anything, right? That's what we're concerned with, and we do that by taking stock of basic desires of what we want now, and not getting too heady with it, you know? It's like they say, aim for the moon. Even if you miss, you land among the stars. So it's like, all right, just work on just meditate. Go exercise your mind healthily, exercise your physical body in a healthy way, exercise your emotions, the driving force behind everything you want, in a healthy manner. These are the things that are going to improve the quality of life. That is aiming for the moon. And say, okay, well, I've been exercising my mind and my body and my spirit, and I didn't manifest $1 million. Okay, but I'm sure you manifested some great things, because all aspects of your life were aiming towards the moon. I'm sure you got your finances in order. I'm sure you figured out how much you're spending every month. I'm sure you cut out some BS that you've been spending. I'm sure you cut out some friggin' subscription programs that you had no idea you were subscribed to. I'm sure you started a side hustle, or refined a side hustle, or at least considered and mapped out a side hustle, right? So again, if you aim for the moon, you miss you miss among the stars, and that's the end of my rant. That's the end of my rant. I love you guys. I'll see you soon. Okay. If you're new, like and subscribe. All right. Peace out.